Hi, I'm Aishwarya Sridhar. I'm a National Geographic Explorer, a wildlife filmmaker, and photographer from the wonderful land of India.
Hello, I'm Chris Stafford, and this is AART, the podcast where we get to know women from around the world of visual arts. This is Season 2, Episode 20. My guest this week is the National Geographic Explorer and award-winning wildlife filmmaker, photographer, presenter, and founder of Bambi Studios, Aishwarya Sridhar. Aishwarya was born in Mumbai, Maharashtra, India in 1997, the only child to parents Sridhar Ranganathan and Rana Sridhar. Her father is a chartered accountant and her mother an advertising professional. Both her parents helped Ash with the business aspects of her film studio and have been instrumental in introducing her to wildlife and conservation from a very early age. She has always been passionate about protecting the natural environment, climate change, and the impact on India's wildlife. Although career pathways for women in filmmaking in India are limited, Ash created her own opportunities, beginning in college in Pilar College of Arts, Science and Commerce, where she studied mass media. Her first two films were picked up by DD National and National Geographic Wild, respectively, and it wasn't long before the awards came her way for her conservation work, including the Sanctuary Asia Young Naturalist Award, which she won at the tender age of 15. The Princess Diana Award for Young Changemakers for ages 9 to 25, the Woman Icon Award, and the International Inspiration Women's Award. In 2020, she became the first Indian woman to win at the Wildlife Photographer of the Year Awards at the National History Museum in London. Aishwarya also became the youngest conservation storyteller from India to join the International League of Conservation Photographers as an Emerging League Fellow. Her work has been telecast on leading networks like National Geographic Wild, Discovery, AART, KBS, NHK, Love Nature, and BBC Earth. And her images have been published worldwide in newspapers and magazines such as the BBC Wildlife, The Guardian, and Times of India. Ash is currently working on a documentary about a leopard, Rana, in the Jalana Leopard Reserve. Ash, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's an honor to be here.
And it's lovely to have you. You're talking to us from Mumbai in India. So give us a picture, Ash, of what life is like for you now in terms of obviously you're a full-time professional cinematographer. But I'm sure people who, even if they've been to India, wouldn't have an understanding maybe of what it would be like for a young cinematographer making a career in India.
Well, it is quite a challenge, I would say, because India as a country still has a long way to go when it comes to creating an industry for young professionals in the field of wildlife camera work, or be it wildlife storytelling for that matter, because we still don't have a fully developed industry like the West. But things are changing. When I picked this profession as for my career, many people didn't even know that this actually could be a profession, because in India, you have the stigma that once you graduate, you either have to be a doctor or an engineer or a chartered accountant or an MBA. But creative arts is still kind of considered to be a line which many people don't venture into. So when I first decided to take the plunge and go down the road less traveled, I did have a lot of people tell me that you shouldn't be doing this. One, you're a girl, and it's an outdoor job, and women are not meant to do outdoor jobs. But my passion for the wild actually exceeded everything. And I would say my childhood played a really important role in inculcating that love for nature within me. So I really wanted to tell stories of our planet. I wanted to use storytelling to create a difference, to make people fall in love with our nature And that's the reason I picked up the camera. So for me, every day is, it's a new day. It's an exciting day of different projects. Some days I'm on the field. Some days I'm at home working on a computer at my desk, writing scripts, coordinating with my team for the post-production. I mean, the editing, the color grading, all of that. So it's a busy time.
Now, you're currently working on a production, I understand, about a beautiful leopard, Rana. Where are you in the stages of production now? You're in post-production, you've finished filming.
Yes, so I actually am working on a lovely documentary on this very handsome and very charming young male named Rana from the forests of Rajasthan in central India. So we are on the last stage of production, I would say. We just have one more schedule to go, and then we will get into post-production. So the story is a very heartwarming story of the rise of Rana. It chronicles his life story from a very young sub-adult to how he actually challenges his own father to become the king of Jalana.
And how old is he now?
He's around 4.5 years old. So he's just getting into his prime, I would say.
And how old do leopards typically, if they're left alone, do they live to?
Usually it's somewhere around 12 to 13 years. But in the wild, it's actually, things are changing. I mean, with time, there is currently a female who is around 12.5, 13 years old. And she's actually mating with Rana, and she's been a steady mate to Rana, in fact, for the last couple of years now. And they've had just another litter, and probably she is now seen mating with him again. And she might sire another litter as well. So things are actually quite dynamic in the wild. I mean, earlier, what we thought was their average life expectancy is actually now changing.
Well, that's fascinating. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Do you know where it's going to air?
No, right now I don't know where it's going to air, but it will be announced very shortly.
Well, I want to wish you well with that, because that's a really exciting project. And I'm sure it's going to be very colourful too. And I can only imagine that there must be a sense of apprehension when you're shooting wildlife. There's always a risk, I'd imagine. It's a matter of calculating that risk when you're shooting wildlife.
I wouldn't say that there is a risk associated with wildlife, because till now I haven't ever faced any such disturbing moments when I've been filming. Of course, the main precaution that I take is that I tend to give them respect and maintain a distance. No matter how good I might get a shot, if I were to go close and bridge that distance, I don't take that call. I don't go close, because I know if I give respect, I will definitely get respect from animals and birds. It's just like us humans. Like, we don't like someone getting into our privacy. It's very similar to that with the animals as well. So I always tend to prioritize their safety. I tend to prioritize that they are feeling safe when we are working and we are actually filming them, and always try to maintain that safe distance so that at no point in time do they feel threatened and then they tend to attack us. So when that doesn't happen, I mean, till now, I've never had a moment where any big cat or any wild animal has charged upon me or my filming crew for that matter.
So this instinct, this connection that you have with wildlife must have started at a young age. Tell us about those early memories.
It started, I would say, due to my childhood, because I grew up in a very green place known as Panvel. It's on the foothills of Mathiran, which is a hill station in Maharashtra in India. And at a very young age, I got a brush with wildlife. I mean, I had wildlife in my own backyard, be it fireflies, be it wild boars, be it a ton of birds. And we used to always, during our weekends, my father and I used to go birding to the local wetlands around my house. So at a very, very, very young age, I got the love for nature within me. And that blossomed as, I grew up. And that's probably one of the main reasons why I felt such a deep connection with nature. And I really wanted to do something to protect her. Because as I was growing up, I also saw the landscape around me transform. So I witnessed highways, replacing forest tracks. I witnessed polluting industries replacing lush wetlands. And this for me was really disturbing because I was learning about climate change and global warming, and I was actually seeing the devastating impact that humans were having on our planet. And around me, the landscape changed from green to just black. So I found that extremely disturbing, and I definitely wanted to do something about it and not just be a mute witness to it. And at that same time, I was seeing documentaries and photographs coming on television. I was seeing the documentaries by Sir David Attenborough on National Geographic and BBC and Discovery. And I felt that why can't I do something like this? Possibly if I could pick up the camera, and if I could fall in love with the Komodo dragon just by sitting in the house and watching it on television, maybe I can have a similar impact by clicking Indian wildlife and showing it to the people around me and around the globe. And that's the reason I picked up the camera at a very tender age of 11. And since then, there's been no going back.
You were born in Palakkad in 1997. What other interests would you have had then? Were you always an outdoor child looking at wildlife and your environment? Did you have any other interests at all?
I was always an outdoor child, but I was also a very nerdy student. So I was one of those rare combination where I was equally studious and I used to get very good marks in my studies. In fact, I did the Cambridge curriculum. So I studied IGCSE and Cambridge AS and A levels. And I actually topped the world in business studies, and I topped the country in India in accountancy and in business studies in my 12th standard. So my teachers were actually very surprised because they thought that I would actually be sitting behind the desk and maybe working as a CEO someday. But I do don the hat of a CEO, but just of my own production company now, which is called Bambi Studios. And I now create content for wildlife channels and for broadcast. So I made a shift mainly because of this burning desire and passion inside of me that I really wanted to make my life meaningful. And I wanted to create an impact in the minds of people, especially stimulate children, because at a very young age, I got the love for nature. And that's one of the main reasons why I adopted a sustainable lifestyle. And I wanted children across the world to be, touched upon at a very early age so that they grow up to be conscious citizens, citizens whose hearts beat for our planet.
Now, your father, you said, would take you out to the wetlands and introduce you to the wildlife, and you'd have an understanding of the birds and so on. But what about your mother? Was she encouraging you to do this as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, both my mom and dad are nature lovers. So my daddy is a member of the Bombay Natural History Society in Mumbai, and now I'm also a life member of theirs. Even my mom, she's very interested in wildlife and in nature. So both of them encouraged me a lot to actually go into this field.
Now, your dad was an accountant, I understand, and he now takes care of your finances with your production company. But what about your mum? Is she at all involved in your business?
She is to some extent because she's an advertising professional. So she gives me a lot of her creative inputs.
And you were the only child, so you had their fullest attention on what you wanted to do with your career then.
Yes, absolutely.
And you graduated in mass media. Tell us where you went to school and why you chose that.
So I went to school actually to Dr. Pillai Global Academy, which is a Cambridge affiliated school. And I did my IGCSE and AS and A levels. And after that, actually, at some point during my 10th standard, I was pivoting towards a career in accountancy because my favorite subject was accounts. And I was really good at maths, although I was really scared of maths, but I was really good at it, surprisingly. And my daddy's a chartered accountant. So normally, that it's kind of, I would say, accounts is in my blood. So I wanted to pivot towards that. But at the same time, I was really an outdoor kid and I loved watching animals and birds and actually clicking pictures. So one day my father and I had a chat, and he told me that, why don't you actually explore this? Because at that point, I didn't know whether I could turn wildlife photography and filmmaking into a career, or was it even plausible sitting in India? And he told me, why don't you give it a try? Why don't you ask people? Why don't you approach some people in this industry already who are working in this space? And then I reached out to a couple of them, and I learned that actually this could be a viable profession. So when the choice came to pick a stream for my graduation, I then moved to mass media to actually learn the art of storytelling. But sadly, Mumbai University, it's from where I graduated, didn't have a course in wildlife filmmaking, or didn't even have a specialization in filmmaking. So I had to end up choosing mass media and advertising as a specialization. But I'll tell you, the advertising skills helped me because I could inculcate that into the way I created a brand for myself. So the advertising lessons that I learned during my graduation didn't go waste.
Well, clearly these tools are all helpful to you. I'm wondering then, when you completed this, were you able to set off on your career, or was that something that you had to find your way into? What were the opportunities when you graduated?
Actually, I created the opportunities, I would say, for myself. So in the beginning, when I graduated, as I was graduating, I had done my first documentary, which was on the vanishing wetlands of my locality. So since I've grown up watching birds in these wetlands, I had a lot of archival footage of them. And one fine day, we realized that there was the local developmental authority who was wanting to reclaim all these wetlands and turn them into a luxury apartment complex. And that for me was very alarming, because we were losing really productive ecosystems. And I did not obviously want that to happen. So my mom gave me this bright idea saying, why don't you put all those archival footage that you have to good use and make a documentary? So I sat on YouTube, I turned to Google, and I learned a lot of editing, of color grading and all of that from the internet, and then put together a very short documentary of about 19 minutes. And I uploaded that film on YouTube, and that film went viral. It garnered a lot of views. It initiated a signature campaign all across India to protect this last remaining wetland known as Panje. And we also screened that film to the local authorities. And it's been an ongoing tussle with the developmental board since then to declare Panje as a wetland of importance. And finally, in 2022, we got that breakthrough, and Panje has now been declared as a wetland of importance on the National Wetland Decadal Change Atlas by the central government. So when I started off my career, I just made that short documentary, and because it got screened in a couple of film festivals locally, it got picked up by India's public broadcaster, which is DD National. And it premiered on the television network somewhere during our holidays, during the Diwali holidays, I would say, which is a very prominent festival in India. And after that, I was wondering, I really like the whole process of putting together the documentary. So I said I should continue this, and what next? I mean, what could be my next big topic? And I am still a very big tiger lover. So I said, I had this story already, because I was following this tigress Maya from the age of 15. I mean, I used to visit with my parents to Tadoba National Park. And I was 15 when I first saw tigress Maya. And I was totally enchanted by her. She's bold. She's beautiful. She's, I would say, one of the most enigmatic tigers that I've ever met till now. And there was this instant connection that I had with her. So even though consciously I did not seek her out, but she sought me out. Whenever I went to Tadoba, there wasn't a single trip where I visited Tadoba and I did not see Maya. And that connection deepened across the years, and I got interested in her life story so much so that I used to follow her life story continuously. And even during college, my exam times, and I had also collected a lot of archival footage of her. I used to shoot her whenever I went and visited the place. And there was one incident, I would say, in her life, which completely changed the way I perceived her, because she had a litter of 3 cubs. And one fine day, there was an intruding male who entered her territory, and he chased her cubs off, and the family broke. But what she did was remarkable, and it was almost as if it was a Bollywood drama unfolding, because she went to the other side of her territory, outside her territory, I would say, and brought back her former mate, who is the father of the cubs. And she used him to overthrow the intruding male, and then went and rejoined with her family. So when that incident unfolded, I knew she was something different. I mean, she was rewriting the way tigers were being looked at, and she was actually redefining her wild genetics. Because up until then, we look at carnivores with a very one-sided view, or with a skewed perspective of the way that they are hardcore, brutal creatures, only killing machines, something like that. But here was a tigress who was actually smashing all that opinion, and she was actually displaying strategizing ability. She was showing emotions. I have seen Maya grieve for her lost litters. I have seen her be the unabashed queen. So I really wanted the viewers to see that side of her and actually cry with her, cheer for her with her triumphs, and love her every step of the way. So I presented a story of Maya in a very unique light. I showed her as an individual instead of a tigress. And that film then got picked up by National Geographic Wild, and it went on to air globally in 127 different countries in 2021. And after that, I've made films on several big cats. I've made films on Asiatic lions, which is releasing this year. I've made films on, now I'm making on the Indian leopard. And I'm also doing an investigative documentary, which has been funded by the National Geographic Society.
One door opened after the other, it seemed to me, but that comes with confidence, though, Ash, that you had the capability from the very early age, once you graduated, to be a professional filmmaker.
Yes, what I had with me were 3 Ps, I would say: patience, perseverance, and passion. And it's been these 3 Ps that has actually guided me through my journey.
Where do you think that all came from? Was it your parents' influence? Was it mentors that you may have had? Or did that all come from your soul?
I would say nature taught me a lot about all of them, because I learned a lot of lessons during the time I used to spend in the forest. Nature really teaches you to be patient, because you don't get instant gratification when you enter a jungle. In that sense, I mean in terms of sightings. So there are days when, I would say, why days? I would say weeks that go without seeing a tiger, or without seeing a leopard or a lion, for that matter. You have to really wait it out. So that really taught me to be patient in life and have that sense of patience to actually wait, that when the time is right and the place is right, things will fall into place. There are times I do get frustrated that things are not happening the way I want to, but I again remind myself that it's a process. And if I trust in the process, and I trust the fact that there is a higher being, then things will fall into place and it will happen what's best for me. And in terms of perseverance, passion I've always had since the beginning for wildlife because of my childhood. And even with perseverance, that's also something that nature has taught me, that no matter what happens, if one door closes, another door will open. So you have to keep trying. No matter what goes wrong, you just have to keep trying and not let your efforts die down, because something or the other will happen and you will get that opportunity if you're working hard and if you have a great story to tell. I really believe in that. And the story is the king.
So the stories are there for you to really seek out, again, with your passion, your insight into the wildlife. But then you have to, as a filmmaker, interpret that to the screen and have an eye for what is going to work in a film. Where do you think that comes from?
I haven't actually really thought about that. That's a very interesting question. I think it's something that comes, I would say, with just going by by your gut feeling, because it's something. What I look at, my process is that I basically look at a story and see if it's something that I as a viewer would like to watch on television, and if it's something that I would definitely switch on TV or on Netflix, then it's a story I would like to tell.
And then the whole production process, once you've actually shot the film, you've got to get a crew, and then there's all the post-production. How did you pull those elements together? How did you finance that in the early days?
So basically, in the beginning, my first documentary was on a shoestring budget, because it was just archival footage and something that I just collected over the years. So I really didn't have to shoot anything with financing apart from that. And it was all naturally there in my library. And with regards to the post-production for my first short docu, I did everything myself on Premiere Pro. I learned Adobe Premiere Pro, I learned Final Cut Pro, and then just did the edit on just by myself. So there was hardly any crew involved in my first documentary. With regards to my second one on Maya, again was I had shot because as a tourist I used to go and visit her her during in the jungle, as a teenager, and I had a lot of videos from that time. But with regards to the post production, then that got the film when it got picked up by National Geographic, I went through a distributor. So I had Earth Touch Private Limited, who was my distributor, and who then they did the edit for me. So I gave them a rough string out of my version of the film, and then they improved that, and then they presented that to Nat Geo. So then I had my distributor actually guiding me through that.
Now, what about the rest of those pieces? There's voiceover, there's, scripting. It sounds like you're doing that yourself too. And then the color processing, the editing. What other skills did you have to bring in from other people then for your crew? And what does that look like now compared to what it was when you started?
So now actually I do have a full-fledged crew. I now have a dedicated camera person, a director of photography. I have my own editor. I have my own color gradist. So now I have built that crew, but earlier I didn't have it. So up until my third film, I didn't have any crew. I depended completely on my distributor, and they were very kind enough to actually hold my hand through the entire process. So Earth Touch, I learned a lot from Earth Touch as well in terms of how to pitch, how to actually make pitch decks on the entire editing process, the rough cuts, the fine cuts, the picture lock, and all the color grading and all of that. So I learned a lot of that from them as well. And now I'm in a position in such that I can have the ability to have my own crew. And we are doing our own production now in terms of the Leopard and in terms of the investigative documentary. But I do have co-producing partners for the Leopard, because when you're making a mega budget film, you need to have co-production partners. So I do have 2 excellent co-production partners for my Leopard documentary. And of course, the investigative film has been funded by the National Geographic Society. So I have the society as well hand-holding me through the process.
So would you say then you are firmly established now? You're 27 years of age, very young in your career, but established in terms of the recognition and the reputation you've got for being a wildlife cinematographer in India?
I would say I still am in the emerging stage, because I personally, I feel that, I would never actually feel that I have arrived even at any point of time, because for me, it's a continuous process. I mean, I would like to keep challenging myself with the stories that I get and the stories that I tell. So for me, I would always, it's an evolution. So I would yes, I have evolved from what I was 5 years back, but I still have a long way to go, because I do have certain goals that I want to achieve in my career as I progress. So I still feel I have a long way to go. I want to be one of the leading storytellers from India. So for that, there is still a couple of more, I would say, processes in place, or films in place.
What has the reception been to you as you've evolved, Ash, being the woman that is producing, directing these documentaries, and establishing yourself in your career at the same time in the profession and gaining that recognition? What has been the reaction particularly from the men?
I would say the industry as such has been very welcoming. I have faced certain incidents with certain people, certain men especially, where they don't take very kindly to a woman in a position of power, or when a woman is giving instructions to a man. So that I have faced sexism to some extent. Yes, I have also faced some traumatic incidents as well, but I don't kind of dwell on them much. I would like to leave that and move on. And I would say I've got a lot of warmth from the West, from the Western industry of wildlife filmmaking, be it be it in terms from National Geographic Society or Nat Geo, or be it in terms of my co-production partners that I've worked with, or my mentors abroad. They have been very, very welcoming. So I just look at their love and I see that there are people who actually are supporting me. So I don't look at the people who have actually tried to bring me down. But there have been instances, I would tell you, where I have gone through trauma because of a couple of men who just didn't like a woman, or especially a young woman, being in a position of power.
And also proving, your immense talent as well. They maybe felt threatened by that, I would imagine. In terms of the women on set, do you have any women on your crew?
Right now, no, I don't. But I would definitely love to work with other young women talent.
And are you thinking of going overseas at any time? Do you have any projects in mind where you would be able to go to the West and maybe get more women joining you on your cruise?
So actually, the next couple of documentaries I'm doing, I am working with overseas co-production partners, and I'm working with an incredibly strong women team from abroad. By what I meant that I don't have a woman in my team is in India, I don't have. But as my co-production partners, I'm working with some of the strongest women in the industry. So who are also my mentors, and who I can turn to for guidance as well, or for support, or for help on any matter, I would say. So I am actually working with a lot of women from abroad, but I would also love to work with women in India as young women emerging storytellers, women camera person who can really lend a very different perspective, their own feminine perspective into our storytelling.
Did you have mentors in cinematography? Were there anyone that you were looking to for mentorship or for inspiration that really inspired you, not just in India, but elsewhere?
So I didn't have any dedicated mentor as such when I entered the industry. But after a couple of years, I have got enrolled in a couple of mentorship programs. So I became a Jackson Wild Summit Fellow. So I got a mentorship opportunity there to be mentored by some of the industry's best. I now have a very, I would say, one of the most accomplished female filmmakers mentoring me now. And I also have been mentored in the ILCP program. So I'm an emerging fellow at the International League of Conservation Photographers. So I've also got mentored there by a very strong female photographer. And she's someone whose work really inspires me, Jen Guyton. And I'm also a part of the Nat Geo Field Ready program. So through that, I've been paired up with a mentor whose work again I look up to immensely. And she's, I would say, one of the most strongest women voices in the field of wildlife and conservation storytelling. So I'm really grateful to have her as my mentor right now. And in terms of whom I look up to, there are several people's work, I would say, who inspire me constantly to do better, to push my boundaries. One, I would say, is Derek and Beverly Joubert. So the way they tell stories of big cats, it's so endearing, it's so heartwarming, and I really love their work in what they've done with big cats. I also love the work of Kartiki Gonzalez. She's from India, and for her first film, she won an Oscar and brought that home. And she's again a friend of mine. So for me, her work is equally inspiring. I love the work of Ratika Ramaswamy as well. She's an Indian photographer. Latika Nath, again, very, very inspiring, talented female photographers. Even in terms of the men, I mean, from India, there are so many filmmakers and photographers who inspire me, be it Kalyan Verma, be it Sudhir Shivaram sir, be it Amog Varsha sir or the Bedi brothers, I would say they're all so inspiring. Even in the West, I would just continue to keep taking names because I would say every filmmaker's work that I've actually seen has been inspirational in some way or the other. And I've always got so much to learn from them.
What do you like people to say about your films, Ash?
For me, I think the biggest compliment that I received from my past films, and I hope it continues the same as well in the future, was that when the film on Maya aired globally, I had people writing to me from all across the world saying that they actually cried when Maya lost her first litter. They were jubilant when she became the undisputable queen of Tadoba. They were waiting in anticipation when she was fighting another male tiger. So all these moments were actually as if they told me one word. I would say that one person wrote to me saying that it was almost as if Maya was acting on a script. And though that's the way you actually told the story, the edit was that good. We actually felt as if, she was acting on a script that was given to her. And for me, that was the biggest compliment I got as a storyteller because I wanted that same reaction. Because in wildlife storytelling, you don't have a script. It's completely unscripted. So we go out, we have a story in mind, yes, but not necessary that would develop while we shoot. For instance, something completely different can happen, completely untoward can happen with our protagonist. So it's not always possible that we get the story that we so much want. And with Maya, it unfolded so beautifully across years that literally every frame spoke what she was going through. And when a viewer can actually catch that, and not just one people, but few hundreds of them write to you saying that we actually felt what Maya was feeling, and we got emotional when she had loss, when she had grief, and we were so happy when she was happy. For me, that was what I felt that the story did, and I wanted that thing to happen with the viewers. And that's exactly what unfolded. So I then knew that I was going in the right direction. I mean, as a director and as a producer, when I'm making a story, if people can actually resonate with it so, so beautifully, then I have done a good job.
Do you think she recognizes you? And the same with Rana. Do you think he recognizes you when you come and film?
I hope Maya does, because there have been instances with her when she's been really up close and personal. Rana, I really hope he recognizes me because I do have a very, very deep connection with Rana, an extremely deep connection. And he's blessed me blessed me and my team, I would say, with some of the best sightings that we have ever had or will ever have of leopards, even in terms of behavior. So I really hope he does recognize me, because there's one thing that I would say with Rana is that whenever I enter the jungle, and the same thing goes with Maya as well, that even though there have been times when for weeks they have not been seen, but if I and my team land up, we end up usually seeing them on our very first day, and then we get a beautiful time tracking them. So there is a connection. There is an unspoken connection with both these protagonists.
Because leopards are particularly shy, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They're very elusive. But, and in fact, up until the time I began filming my leopard story, I had very bad leopard luck. So leopards are actually found all throughout India and all the Indian forests. But they are one of the most adaptable of big cats because they can live even in human-dominated spaces. Mumbai, for example, where I live, we have leopards right in the city. Where I'm filming, again in Rajasthan, the leopards are living in a city. So they are one of the most, I would say, elusive. They are nocturnal, and they're very, very shy. But in this particular park in Jalana, the leopards are rewriting history again, because I think their close proximity to humans over the years has actually transformed their very behavior. They're now displaying behaviors which have previously never been documented before. And so maybe somewhere during their interactions or the silent interactions with human, I would say it's also one of the few places where there has absolutely been no man-animal conflict till date. And that's surprising because people are actually sharing their home with a predator. And normally you expect to have conflict when you're living next door to a predator, but not here. Here, that's absolute peaceful coexistence.
I'm just thinking of what you must have been like as a child, ambitious as you are, and also seemingly very confident too. I'm wondering what those teachers would have said about you now and the career path that you've carved out and the success you've had so early on in your career. What do you think their reaction would be?
I hope my teachers are proud. I'm in touch with a lot of my teachers as well, and they definitely are extremely happy of what I'm doing right now, and they feel very proud of who I've become. But somewhere I would say they all had the inclination that I would take something up in the public space. I mean, as a public speaker or something like that, because I was also very active in the extracurricular activities in my school. So I used to always be the person hosting events in schools, doing plays, being a part of theater in my school. So I've always been that child who has gravitated towards extracurriculars as well, apart from being a studious person.
And what were you watching in the theater or on TV as a child?
I am a big Bollywood and Hollywood buff. So I love watching films. I absolutely love cinema. And I come from a land which is very widely known for its very entertaining cinema. So for me, I love watching Netflix, be it now Netflix, obviously, but earlier I used to watch Bollywood movies. I used to watch a lot of Hollywood movies. So I've also taken a lot of inspiration from these films in terms of the way I tell a story. So when I tell stories, they're not just informative and educational, but I also give an entertainment value, because only then will that education and information register in the minds of the audience.
How do you choose the soundtracks for your films, Ash?
I leave that to my composers, and I just ensure that whatever music with the one department where I'm when I'm weak at in terms of playing with sound, or, even in terms of sound mixing and all of that, I'm not that great at that. So I trust the composers I work with, and I just go with how the music makes me feel. I think that's what I take the cue in. If I'm able to get the right emotions, and I just detach myself from the film. So when I'm watching it, I don't watch it as my film. I watch it as a third party who's viewing someone else's work. And does that music make me feel what the scene is showing? If it does, it works well. If it doesn't, then revise.
Well, I know that Hindi Bollywood soundtracks are on your playlist, but so too is Michael Jackson and Taylor Swift. So you've got quite a Western influence there, a modern Western influence. What do you like to listen to when you're driving your car?
Oh, a mixture of both, I would say. And also it all depends on my mood. So sometimes I gravitate towards romantic numbers. Sometimes I gravitate towards really high energy tracks. Even the times when I'm working out, I love to listen very high energy tracks, because that kind of gives me the energy and the prep to work out hard to achieve my fitness goals. And on the car, it's usually a mixture of nice, happy Bollywood songs, or even Taylor Swift songs for that matter. Sometimes even party tracks. So it's all on my mood, basically. I just go on Spotify and just choose it accordingly.
We haven't talked about books and reading. As a studious student that you were, and a very successful student, where do books come in? What do you enjoy now?
I love reading. I haven't got time to read in a really long time, but I absolutely love reading. As a child, I used to love young adult fiction. So be it the world of Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, the world of Narnia. I've read all those books, all series, watched all the movies. I'm a really big Potter fan.
Now, you've won already a lot of awards, Ash, for your work. How important is the external recognition and the peer recognition for you? I mean, probably not something you think of when you're actually starting a story, but how important is it when you get that recognition?
It actually feels good because it's kind of a validation for the work that you've done, and you know that you've told the right story and it's had the right impact. So yes, definitely those awards really make me feel that I am going in the right direction, and this is something that if I work really hard on and I continue to do so, I would be able to actually create the difference that I so want to make.
And you're able, through your work and through your passion for wildlife, incorporate those interests into organizations that you mentioned earlier, that you're youth ambassador for the Voices of Asian Elephant Society. And you're also an only one ambassador advocating for the oceans. How do you choose which ones? Because there's so many out there that you could put your name to.
I basically look at organizations with whom I can resonate myself with. I mean, organizations whose core values truly align with mine. So only one is something that is an organization with whom, I really been passionate about protecting our oceans and our wetlands, because I've grown up in a coastal city, not very far, because even though Panvel is on the outskirts of Mumbai, it's still part of somewhere on the suburbs of Mumbai. And I have been, a lot of my childhood has also been spent with my grandparents' house, which is in the heart of Mumbai city. So obviously coming from a coastal area, for me, oceans and the sea has played a major influence in my life. So obviously now when I'm seeing that there's so much of ocean plastic trash that's there in it, I obviously would want to make a difference in cleaning our oceans. And only one definitely stands for that. And I felt that marine conservation and protection of our oceans is so, so important right now. So that's the reason when they approached me, our core values aligned, our everything aligned, our ideas aligned. So I became an ambassador for them. And with Voices of Asian Elephants, actually, I was a young ambassador up until a few months ago. And now my tenure with them is over. Again, working with Sangeeta was excellent. She's also a Nat Geo explorer. And the way in which she's actually worked with Asian elephants has been incredible. The plight that our elephants today are facing, especially in India and in Asia, is not just poaching, but in terms of the way they are used in certain functions in temples. And she's really been able to stand up for the cruelty that elephants have faced. And now we are actually seeing policy changes happening. She's doing incredible impact work for that. And I was lucky enough to actually get a chance to work with her. So, it's all about organizations with whom I'm really able to connect. And if they stand for what I stand for, then it's a perfect alignment.
And who would you like to work with in terms of crews in the future? And obviously there are so many people that you respect that you've mentioned already, but is there anyone or is there anywhere that you want your work to go in the future? Do you have a bucket list?
Oh, I do have a bucket list. I would like my work to be featured on a large number of platforms and hopefully someday bring home the Oscar. So that's something that's on my bucket list.
Oh, right. Oh, just aim for the Oscar. There's no reason why not, given your track record so far, Ash.
Fingers crossed.
So when you look back, I mean, as you said, you're just 27 now, but you've dedicated your entire life to wildlife and conservation. What would you say would be the milestones, the turning points in your very early career that have led you to where you are now?
I would say one would be when my film on Maya aired on Nat Geo Wild. That was a major turning point for me. Then when I became a National Geographic Explorer, that was another turning point for me. And now I hope that with the release of my upcoming films, that becomes a turning point for me.
Yeah, each one a milestone.
Definitely.
Now, in terms of going forwards, then, you obviously got other projects in mind. Do you want to share any of those with us once you get past Rana and his documentary?
I do have a couple of projects, but they're in a very early stage of development. So there's a series as well that we are now developing. So it's all in the works. Maybe a few months down the line, I'll be able to share a little more about them. But it's a mixture of blue chip. There's also wildlife trafficking involved. There's also conservation stories that we are working on, and impact-based documentaries as well. So I've got a lot of different slate of films which we are now working in terms of developing different stories.
It sounds as if you're working 24/7, 7 days a week, Ash. Do you have any time for yourself that's not part of the creative process?
I do have a time. So I work like from morning 9 to almost 12 hours a day I work. And then I have a nice rest time in the evening. And after dinner, it's my rest time. I watch television, I read books, I kind of take that time to wind off.
And do you have time for any other activities or sports or anything you do for fun apart from relaxing like that?
I love going for a run. So I do have fitness goals. And because of constant shooting, what happens is that sometimes you're not able to match your fitness regime. So for me, a very big part of who I am is to ensure that I have my regular workouts. And that workout time is also a time where I get to really just wind things off, shut off my creative process, and just be myself and just do my exercises. And that time is really fun. I also love playing badminton and I love playing chess, but I haven't had a chance to do that in a really long time.
Well, it sounds as if life is very, very full, Ash. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do that, because we really do want a wider world to know about the work that you're doing. It really is beautiful, and it's important, very, very important to the wildlife and the conservation of India. So congratulations on the career that you have started, because it's only just begun. And I want to wish you the very, very best of luck with the future, Ash. And thank you for taking time to come on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a true honor to be a part of this show. And I couldn't be happier recording this broadcast with you. Thank you so much.
And whilst you're in the podcast app, do scroll down to the show notes where you'll find a link to Ash's social media and to her website. And you'll also find a link to our Instagram account too, at the AART Podcast. You can also reach us here at hollowellstudios@gmail.com with any comments, questions, or suggestions for guests. We love to hear from you. And if you have a moment, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, then do leave us a rating and a review, because that improves our rankings and helps others find the show. My thanks again to my guest this week, Aishwarya Sridhar, and to you for listening. I'll be back next week when my guest will be the figurative painter Lisa Golightly. So I do hope you'll join me then.